My name is Tamara. As Urush said, I will be talking about the community algorithm, how it works. And I got a call from Misha a couple of months ago saying, you will do a talk. And I said, I will do a talk. And he said, your talk is going to be, what is your algorithm? And I said, sure. What is my algorithm, by the way? So I didn't know the answer to that. So I spent some time thinking about it. And then not too long ago, Urush called and he said, so what's the name of your talk? And I said, well, what's your algorithm? But what is my algorithm? I don't know what my algorithm is. And does the audience know what that means? What is your algorithm? Like, is that, like, how does it work? So we decided that I should be talking about the communities that Urush mentioned that I had the pleasure of building and working with. So I present to you, what is your algorithm? But not. So I apologize to Urush for destroying his wonderful work with my pain skills. But the truth is, I honestly had no idea how these communities came to be. It felt natural to me, and I didn't feel like I should be taking a stage telling you about these communities. However, Misha gave me homework, so I spent some time thinking about it. And one thing that I've been doing is building small communities, building strong communities above all, building tight-knit communities of people who respect and care about each other, and above all, care about a cause, have the same purpose. And in this work, I've been working mostly with girls and women, which is also one of the reasons I'll be moderating the panel called Girl Power tomorrow, which I invite you to come and visit as well. And it happened naturally, because I'm not a girl, not yet a woman. And it just came naturally. So to be standing here, I was thinking about what a community is. And then I thought about, do you know the big Harvard study, the longest ever they've been doing for over 75 years? I see some people nodding their heads. So it is the study of adult development. It's basically, they took hundreds of people. First they took 268, I'm making up a number right here, but let's say 268 Harvard sophomores back in 1938, and decided to monitor their lives. And it's a very lengthy, obviously, study, and a very important one, where they were rethinking happiness and what makes us happy. And they also added some other people from inner city Boston who were not as privileged as, the Harvard sophomores. And I must say, all of those people were men, because back in 1938, all of the Harvard was male-only college, which is another reason why I'll be moderating the panel called Girl Power tomorrow. So I'm gonna make it simple. They came to this: good relationships keep us healthier and happier. It's pretty simple, right? And I guess we can all agree. However, when someone spends over 75 years of talking to hundreds and hundreds of people, and not only talking to them, but they were actually doing blood tests, MRIs, talking to their families, checking in regularly, they came to a lot of conclusions that are important to us, especially to our industry, because the co-working and the co-living industry is a community industry. It turns out that people who are more socially connected to family, to friends, to community are happier, they're physically healthier, and they live longer than people who are less well connected. So at the opening talk, we talked about loneliness and being less lonely, and this is exactly what this study also confirms. When we are well connected to other people and to ourselves, to our communities, to our families, we are healthier, we are happier. The second big lesson that they learned, and so that we, is that it's not just the number of friends you have. So it's not just, how many followers you've got, how many Facebook friends you've got. It is the quality of your close relationships that matters. This made me rethink all of my friendships, all of my relationships, my relationship with my family, with my distant relatives, with long-lost friends. It made me rethink, the complicated relationships, the one that it's easier to kind of put aside, not really go back to that because it pains us. And I decided to be focusing more on stuff that pains me and paying more attention to people, paying more attention to my relationships. So when Misha called me, he said, don't talk about community the way you talk, as a business person. He said, make it personal. So here I am talking about community, but I'm going to make it personal. And the first community that I built, some of you know this story, Urosh, I'm looking at you. It was out of pure necessity. I graduated university, and as one does, realized that I probably wasted the best years of my life. I was standing there, miserable, thinking, I have no tools, not a lot of knowledge, not a lot of skills. What is this? What is going on? And it was a long period of like months and months, even a year, of me feeling pretty miserable about myself, feeling like, what did I just do? Time wasted. I also see some people nodding their heads. So, and it also, has to do with what Lazar was talking about, the way our education system is put together. So I'm going to show you a photo. I decided that today is going to be embarrassing photos. So I'm going to show you the photo of me receiving the diploma from the Dean of the Faculty of Dramatic Arts. And mind you, this is me at my most miserable. It looks like there's going to be a smooch. There was not a smooch. This was actually published on the faculty website. This was the official photograph from the diploma ceremony. Everyone saw it. It was a big deal. I was miserable, mind you. And then I remembered, I'm going to just have this in the background while I talk about a really serious topic. Then I remembered that I also had this crisis. Luckily, I had a crisis before that at the end of high school as well. Actually, my high school has a graffiti on it saying, bring me back those 4 years of my life. And I can totally relate to that. And back then, I made a pact with myself. It was a sweet little deal. And it said, whenever you're feeling miserable, whenever you're feeling unthankful, above all, for what you have and for where you are at this moment, you need to stop in your tracks. You need to turn to someone you don't know. And you need to do something for them. And the condition is they can never pay you back for it, whatever it is. You don't know this person, you're going to help them, you're not getting anything in return because you're unthankful for what you've got. So I did exactly that. And the first community I built was called Kilometer Kose, kilometer of hair. Because as you can see, the big difference, age as well, but the big difference between this photo and this photo, this site, is the lack of hair. So I had a lot of it, and I realized that I was unthankful for it as well. And so I thought, why don't I just donate it and have a wig made for someone who needs a wig? Let's say a kid who's got cancer or alopecia or lost their hair to a disease or a medical treatment. Then I realized it wasn't that easy. So it's not like you cut your hair and then you make a wig. It takes 8 to 10 people. They have to have similar hair length, quality. A lot of work goes into it. Like I said, I didn't have much, so it's not like I could pay for it either. So what I did is I called my friends. I was like, okay, I have a bunch of girlfriends who have similar hair to me. We're all brunettes. So do you want to donate your hair? And a bunch of them said no, because hair is a big deal. So I said, okay, I'm sure there's people who I don't know who are going to be willing to jump in. So organically, we had about 30,000 people follow us online. We had over 150 hair salons who were cutting people's hair for free for a year. We had over 5,000 people donate their hair. 5,000 people I didn't know. And we were all working towards something that was larger than me, larger than hair, larger than all of us. So make it personal. Build a community that makes you feel small and big at the same time. This made sense at 4 a.m. when I was making this presentation. Now I feel like I should probably explain. The feeling of kilometer cost of everyone involved was, I'm worthless. I'm just one little piece of this community, right? Me personally doing this, nothing would have happened if I said kilometer of hair is going to be me doing this. Engaging more people made it what it was. And all of those people were very small, but all of us were contributing to something bigger. And this empowerment actually brought so much joy and so many brilliant relationships, not only to the girls who were getting the wigs and therefore being completely transformed in their healing process. I'm not going to go there now. The community, the people who felt like, 25 centimeters of this kilometer of hair that we built together, we all felt big and we all felt really small at the same time. So there's, often talk about making a product, making an app to solve your own issues, right? And I completely support that, and it's what we do as well. I'm gonna get there. However, there are so many people who don't have a voice. There's so many people who are disempowered. And I know that all the people sitting here today have a lot of power. And even if you feel like you don't, perhaps it's something that could be, as silly as your hair. I encourage everyone to think about building communities that make you feel small, that make you feel big at the same time, using what you have to empower the ones closest to you. What happens next? So, building a community that would bring value to the past you. So I was 14 years old. I really wanted to work so I could, be an independent woman, right? So I started singing in bars that I was not allowed to enter because I was a minor, but I was singing in bars, and I remember the first 1,000 dinars that I earned, and this was a super big deal. So 1,000 dinars, for those of you who don't know, is about like 8 euros, something like that. But to me, I was Jeff Bezos at that time. Like, I was walking down the street with this banknote, feeling like the strongest person alive. And I knew that I had to put it to good use. I said, I'm gonna remember this forever. It was a big deal. So I spent time contemplating, how do I put these 1,000 dinars, 8 euros, into use? What should I do with it? How do I invest it? How do I make a big change? How do I remember this forever? So after thinking about all of my options, at the tender age of 14, I decided to invest it in, and I bought myself a t-shirt. It was a blue t-shirt. It had John Lennon on it. And it was a big deal. I washed it by hand that afternoon so it could dry overnight, so I could iron it in the morning, so I could wear it to school the next day, right? So I wore this shirt, super proud, Jeff Bezos. I'm not exaggerating. I did think that was it. And I walked into school, sat next to my best friend, and he turned to me and he said, "What's with the messed up Harry Potter on your shirt?" And I was like, "No, it's it's the Beatles." And he was like, "No, it's like Harry Potter, but really old. What happened?" Everyone started making fun of me. And I remember feeling like, oh my goodness, this is the wrong type of crowd. No one knew who John Lennon was, and everyone thought that I was being silly. And it was also a big deal because I was Jeff Bezos 5 minutes before that, and now everyone's laughing at me. So, a really big kind of King Lear type of quick change. So I'm actually, because I said I'll be showing embarrassing photos, I spent good 20 minutes going through Facebook to find this photo from ages ago. And it's this t-shirt. This is my emo phase, mind you. So it's this t-shirt, highly pixelated on this huge screen, that was my first ever income. It was it. Big deal. And as you can see, there was a lot of differences between me and my peers, not only in height, but also in the way that they were perceiving, the world. And I was this emo kid listening to the Smashing Pumpkins while everyone else was listening to NSYNC, and I was just at a party oh, you choose a song, and I'd play the most, the saddest thing ever. And I was like, no. So I was really misunderstood. And I had a big issue with that, but I realized that I couldn't fake it. Like there was not much use in faking it and pretending that I'd liked something that I didn't. So fast forward, some 10 years after that, I was helping out some friends. They were playing at Exit Festival, the largest music festival in the region probably. And I was their roadie, and we were on stage setting up for this huge gig, big deal. And there was about 20, 30 people working, setting everything up, and it was, really busy. And at one point I turned and I realized that I was the only woman, I was the only girl out of all of the 30 people working there, which is another reason why I'll be moderating the panel called Girl Power tomorrow. But you'll come, yeah, I've been selling it, seriously. So I realized that, this is something that should be different. I'm not special, like all of this was just me fighting the system, while I know there's a bunch of other people who would understand it. So fast forward 5 years from then, we come to this, the Girls Rock Camp. So the Girls Rock Camp is another community that we built, and it's a week-long program for girls aged 11 to 14 who come learn the basics of playing the guitar, electric guitar, bass, or drums, and form little bands, write their own song, original song, and perform it at the end of the week, all in 1 week. Some of these girls have never touched this instrument before, right? Some of these girls know how to play an instrument, but a different one. This is an empowering project, and I saw Nenny at the, hi. I saw Nenny this morning, and I had the pleasure of being a coach to his daughter this year, and he said, "Thank you so much for bringing back a different child into our home." And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Empowered." You used some beautiful words, and I said, "Let's talk after my talk because I'll get really emotional." I tend to get really emotional. This is a community of women and girls empowering each other. This is something that I wish had existed when I was a kid. I probably wouldn't be standing here today if it existed. However, if we're thinking about building communities, how do you support the past you? We think about the future so much. We think about the present as well, but mostly about the future. How do you support the past you? What is it that you can do to make someone else's experience better? And I wish these things existed when I was a kid, but because they don't, now some other girls get to go through it, and it's amazing. And it's an empowering community, and we stay in touch during the entire year, and it's just an all-in-all brilliant experience. So this brings us to number 3. And this is building a community that takes you where you want to be in the future. I have a friend who really wants to read a book a week, but it's nearly impossible. And he said, "I don't know what to do. How do I make myself read a book a week?" And I said, "Well, why don't you just build a community of people who want to read books every week? And then it's like a book club, but you don't read the same book, but you kind of have And he was like, "What do you mean? Why would we do that?" But if this is the future you that you want to be, why not find other people who want to get there as well and build a community and build these relationships and become stronger together? And also, at the end of your life, be happier and healthier. Also, that study from Harvard, I really recommend you read it because you can also be richer and all of these things just based on your relationships, depending on what matters to you. But relationships do matter. And so do these communities. So what I did building a community that takes me where I want to be in the future is rethinking my life, rethinking city living, because I'm from Belgrade. I've been living here for ages. I love Belgrade. I love the city. I'm useless in a village. Like, the countryside freaks me out. I don't know anything about it. However, at this moment when FOMO is rising, there's so much happening, and you feel like you're constantly missing out, I realized that for me, it's about going somewhere else, living in the countryside. So the community that I'm currently building is called Makran House. I invite you all to come and join us in a couple of days to my home, because I actually live there. It's a co-living space in the countryside, and it will be our great pleasure to host you. to show you a different lifestyle, to show you that maybe you in the future could also be living the life that you want, if it's that. Or just to check it out. So we have people coming from all over the world, sometimes only for a week or a month or 3 months, to see whether it fits. Some of them say, yeah, I'll come back and live in the countryside in 10 years. Some of them move immediately. But it's about building a community of people who understand and who want to be living the same, life under their own conditions. So thank you all so much, and I hope to see you in 2 days.